Vicarious trauma is the indirect trauma that we absorb as people, as individuals. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's the fact that we care. I was in roll call, and I work with these officers, right? But the incident occurred in that room from one word somebody said to me, and I exploded. Everything that comes along with being a Black woman, I have to understand that and take good care of myself in order to be able to help other people. But it's putting those boundaries in place and practicing those boundaries, understanding that it's you first. You can't help somebody else if you're not good for yourself.
Welcome to Responder Resilience, along with my co-hosts, Dr. Stacey Raymond and Bonnie Rumley, LCSW, EMT. I'm David Dashinger. Today, we're honored to have Dr. Falisa Asberry. She's a retired law enforcement veteran and CEO of Peacock Training and Consulting Group. Join us as we explore vicarious trauma, the importance of the four domains. We'll be talking about self-care and how leadership can foster resilience. Remember to like and subscribe, YouTube, Responder Resilience, Facebook, Responder Wellness Inc., and Responder TV, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and please check out our website, respondertv.com, for past episodes and guest information.
This episode is made possible by the First Responder Center for Excellence. Discover more at firstrespondercenter.org and connect with us on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Our resource partner, Fight Camp, is offering an exclusive deal for viewers of Responder Resilience. For a limited time, you can get an amazing free package valued at $238, which includes punch trackers, quick wraps, and a free 45-day membership trial. Don't miss out. Email us at info@respondertv.com with the subject line Fight Camp to claim your free package today.
We'll be right back to speak with Dr. Falisa after this.
In this family, more of us die by our own hands than by the hazards of the job.
In this family, up to a quarter of 911 telecommunicators have symptoms of post-traumatic stress.
In this family, our mental health and wellness are in crisis,
while responders are quietly suffering.
In this family, many struggle with job-related stress,
burnout,
moral injury,
sleep disruptions, substance abuse,
and relationship problems.
In this family, we can help the helpers.
with vital information and resources,
resilient strategies,
and success stories of overcoming the obstacles.
In this family, no one is alone.
Welcome to Responder Resilience. We co-host retired Lieutenant David Dashinger, Dr. Stacey Raymond, and Bonnie Rumley, LCSW, EMTB.
We'd like to welcome Dr. Falisa Asberry. She's a retired 27-year law enforcement veteran with a PhD in psychology, and she now serves as a life coach and CEO of Peacock Training and Consulting Group. Her flagship programs, Authentic All the Time, Peacock Pulse, and Blue Pulse, focus on first responders and organizations seeking greater resilience, authentic leadership, and personal growth. Drawing on her frontline experience and clinical expertise, Dr. Falisa helps teams and individuals become their best, most authentic selves, ensuring they can thrive in demanding environments, transcend challenges, and serve their communities at the highest level. Dr. Falisa, welcome to Responder Resilience.
Thank you. Thank you, David. I'm excited to be here. Hey, Bonnie and Stacey, how are you?
Hi.
Hey. All right, doing good.
It's nice to meet you.
You too. I'm really excited to be here. Sorry, y'all.
We are too.
So, David, as you said, I am 27 years into the law enforcement field, and I want to just speak from my experience. I entered very young, 24, 25, somewhere in there, and had no idea what law enforcement meant, had no interaction prior to becoming a police officer, had no interaction with law enforcement or, you know, what it entailed. I did it out of a need. I had just become a mother at the same time. Within the first 6 months of doing this, I had become a mother. So my goal was to take care of my daughter. And so I dove into a profession that created a culture shock for me. Me not understanding who I am who I was at that time and going into a profession that I wasn't aware of at that time caused me to want to focus more on developing something that would support us, law enforcement or first responders or anybody who works with other people. So from there, I'll go into what vicarious trauma is if you want right now.
Sure.
So vicarious trauma, and I found out the hard way. It hit me first. It hit me hard. It almost took me out. And that's what caused me to want to study it. Vicarious trauma is the indirect trauma that we absorb as people, as individuals. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's the fact that we care. It's the fact that we have compassion and empathy for other people. So what makes it harder is those of us who care more. And normally those of us who care more go into professions where we help other people. So it's an invisible vapor that we absorb. And the problem comes because we're not aware of it. We think it's part of normalcy, which in essence it's really not. So that takes me back to addressing the 4 domains. So what I've established is we're talking about human beings helping human beings. The 4 domains cover the whole human being. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually will cover the whole domain. So if you take good care of your whole self, you are preparing yourself for whatever you need to encounter or whatever you will encounter with another human being to counteract that invisible vapor. You remember Wonder Woman with her braces, right? Back in the day, you guys had around giving my age up. I don't know, but yeah. So we're blocking those vapors when we take care of our whole selves. And that's where, that comes into play, Stacey. Hopefully I answered your question.
And you said human to human, but I've witnessed, we've had a dog that was elderly and suffering and had to put down or whatever. I think I was struck by that dog's suffering.
Absolutely. It's the same thing.
We can be vicariously traumatized. Yeah.
And I think if I could speak on this, I think it's worse now as we are all so interested in what's happening in our country. When rules are being made and things are happening and it's becoming traumatizing from the top to the bottom because of what's happening around us in our environments. And so you couple that with your individual story, yourself, you couple that with the people you work with or the people you encounter on social media as you scroll or in the grocery store, so it's like a big vapor over us, you know?
Well, and Stacey and I talk about this sometimes too. There's no shortage of mass disaster, whether it's man-made or natural. And that's something that our population faces all the time, right? But even just the culture and country at large is facing more and more trauma, whether they're attending school or work or church. So, we're dealing with all of that in addition. What are some specific strategies that law enforcement officers and other first responders could incorporate into their daily routine, in your view, to start beefing up their own support of their domain?
So I believe the first thing initially is to be aware, become self-aware, take the necessary steps to do the introspective work, to understand where you are and how you're impacted, if you're impacted, what ways you're impacted. So what I'm saying is start with self and start to create routines for yourself that support all 4 domains. And obviously the normal stuff, getting enough rest, eating clean, just doing the things that are necessary to take care of you. I can give you suggestions, but we need to find out what helps us as individuals, what feeds your soul, what feeds your spirit. That's what you get to do as part of your psychological. You get out there and do some physical work because that's what moves the trauma. That's what moves out. If the trauma is moved out of you, if you don't do those things, it stays within you and it accumulates.
Introducing Fight Camp. Thousands of workouts led by expert trainers that meet you on your time. Live punch stats motivate you to push harder and help you map out your progress. Knockout achievements, or go head-to-head against other rivals from across the country or across the living room. Learn the basics and sharpen your skills over time through tailored paths. Join the biggest boxing community in the world without leaving your home. Fight Camp.
Hey everyone, if you're looking to elevate your fitness journey, listen up. Fight Camp is rolling out an incredible offer just for Responder Resilience listeners, an absolutely free package that includes punch trackers, quick wraps, and a 45-day membership trial valued at $238. This isn't just a workout, it's a way to track your progress in real time with advanced technology. You'll have access to over 3,000 on-demand workouts tailored for all fitness levels, so you'll never run out of options. Kickstart your fitness journey and follow these simple steps to get your free package. Just email us today at info@respondertv.com with the subject line Fight Camp,
and we'll send you everything you need to sign up and claim your free offer. That's info@respondertv.com. So, Dr. Falisa, in your career, how did vicarious trauma impact you? And then did that lead to some insights that help you do the work you're doing today?
Mm-hmm. So, like I mentioned earlier, vicarious trauma almost took me out. And what I noticed is it was at the most inopportune time. I was doing my internship and still working my shift and still raising two girls. I'm married. I'm still trying to do the normal stuff. And I didn't realize that I had become overwhelmed because I'm pushing through, right? I'm just doing what I need to do. And I was in roll call. I'm going to give you a little backstory. I was in roll call and I work with these officers, right? But the incident occurred in that room from one word somebody said to me. And it just I exploded. But when I look back on it, I saw it happening, but I didn't pay attention to it. You get what I'm saying? I saw the irritability. I saw the lack of sleep. I saw the not eating well. I saw the irritability. I saw the snapping. I saw those things when I look back on it. So what brought me to do this work is let's get ahead of this thing.
Sure.
Let's get ahead of it. Because when I think about the high profile cases that we, often see when police officers do bad things or make bad choices, they didn't go into it to make those choices. And so I look at it from a different lens. I look at it from, I wonder if they were taking good care of themselves. And so then I look at the patterns. How did this get here? And so this is like the bottom. This is the layer on the bottom, which is us as individuals. How are we showing up in the world, right? Don't let me go off tangent now.
It's all good. It's all
good. But as we show up as individuals, we have to take good care of ourselves because we're going into a space where we don't know what we may encounter.
Right.
So the best possible way to remedy anything that we may encounter is to make sure we are in good possible shape ourselves. And that's with any.
Yeah, I mean, life is uncertain, but doing a first responder job takes that uncertainty to another level, right? And like we train to be prepared for whatever scenario we can walk into. We do our best to be prepared training wise, but it sounds like you're saying we also need to be prepared on a spiritual level, an emotional level, physical level,
psychological.
Psychological. Yeah.
That's going to cover your whole self. So and then there are other things that you get to learn that will, enhance those areas, like skill sets that you will incorporate to, handle yourself better, regardless of what you're going to encounter, because you just don't know.
So, Dr. Falisa, Bonnie and I, we've talked about this a lot. We've encountered this in first responders where they tend to come from families where perhaps they didn't have a lot of their needs met. Maybe there was an absent parent, a divorce situation, an alcoholic parent, physical abuse, maybe some psychological abuse. And so what we found is that these first responders don't tend to put themselves first or go inside. They're constantly responding and fixing, responding to and fixing things on the outside. So I'd like to hear what you have to say about that, about how do we get these first responders to be more focused on their four domains?
So it's going to start with leadership, incorporating, certain ways of being. It's going to be creating a different culture and turning it into something it has never been before. And that's with people telling them or telling us to start with us. Like this, what we're doing, bringing awareness to this. Start with yourself, and it's going to start with, especially with people who are going into a profession, which is, in my opinion, a paramilitary profession. So we're looking for people to tell us what to do. So the leadership is going to need to tell people what to do. Take care of yourself first. When I instructed in the academy, my first question to my students on the very first day was, why are you here? What do you want to do? Why are you here? And I didn't accept the generic response. I want to help. I want to protect. Because as soon as somebody spit on you or punch you in the throat or whatever, you're not going to want to protect and serve. So I need to know deeper. So that's the thing I think is necessary for us to go deeper in early stages when we bring people into these professions. Help them to understand this is going to change you as a person.
Right.
It's inevitably going to change you. So that's where I would start, is at the onset. When we onboard people, bring them in, let them know this is going to happen. We don't know to what degree you're going to be impacted, but when you work with other people, it's inevitable. You will be impacted in some way. And that's where the caveat, that's the part right there, is you just don't know how you're going to be impacted. Some people, it doesn't happen until afterwards, after they leave the profession. Then you might recognize, oh my goodness,
I wanted to ask you, because we have clinicians tuning in who are working with first responders or looking for tools and strategies to work with them, and we have some first responders listening to figure out what they need to do for themselves. What are some of the early warning signs that you could identify that someone is at the beginning of experiencing vicarious trauma? What are some of those red flags that really stick up in the beginning?
I would say one would need to really understand who they are as an individual first, because it could be their norm, right? But if you're starting to feel irritability and you can't put your finger on it, or if you're tossing and turning at night and you just cannot, figure out how to get some good rest, or you're feeling depleted, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling a disconnection from your family and friends, or you don't want to hang out. When you start to feel and do those things, you want to really take a look at, am I taking good care of myself? And start to really incorporate some things that are filling you up opposed to depleting you or taking from you.
We sometimes experience this because we go out, we want to help people, like we are typically empathetic, and people that are compassionate. We want to be compassionate when someone's in need. And then we can kind of get to that point of burnout and compassion fatigue, where we're doing it day in, day out, shift in, shift out. How do we kind of find that balance, right? How do we balance our own well-being with the fact that the job requires being empathetic and supportive and compassionate in a lot of circumstances?
And that goes back to being self-aware and understanding you and your capacity to withstand. But it's putting those boundaries in place and practicing those boundaries, understanding that it's you first. You can't help somebody else if you're not good for yourself,
right?
And so that's the thing. It always goes back to self-awareness. And just to self-awareness is self-discovery. Prior to that is, let's go back to the foundation and rebuild to support whatever it is that you're up to now. And that's what Dr. Stacy was talking about. A lot of folks that go into these areas may have come from a lack themselves. So with that being said, it's doubly important for you to take care of yourself.
Right.
I think part of that is those responders as children were not given permission to care for themselves or to even explore what self is. You know, when you're in a toxic, violent, dysfunctional family system, you're surviving it on the day to day, right? So to get to Maslow's hierarchy of needs of how do I self-actualize, whereas you're worrying if someone's coming home drunk or what noise you're going to hear, you know, is that a realistic expectation? Probably not. But to your point about speaking to academies and leadership, we need to do a better job of educating first responders as to what they're about to walk into. Because what you walk into, it's not just the danger aspect, but you're walking into a mirror. And if you are not ready to look in that mirror, it's going to shatter at some point.
You're triggered. You're triggered. You may be able to maintain your composure in that moment, but it's still there. It's going to be with you. You're going to walk away from that call, that service, or whatever you're doing. You're going to walk away with that experience. And that's you got to be able to separate and compartmentalize. I mean, it's a lot of more than just being in a position to serve other people, because again, it goes back to you first. That's my motto. You first.
You first.
Think about it. And I don't care what culture you come from, what background. Usually when we come into this world that's already here, we're taught to take care of other people. We're taught by getting a baby doll or a teddy bear or a kitchen set or an ironing board, or you get what I'm saying? We've been conditioned to take care of other people until we're in crisis. Then we look at ourselves, but it's too late at that point. We don't want to go into crisis. We don't want to be in a situation where we're on somebody's back trying to apprehend them in the worst way. We don't want to wait till we get to that point. You get what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you something. I did 27 years. Fortunately for me, I never had to have a physical confrontation with anybody on the street. And that's why I said we can go back to the part where I was in the roll call room when that incident occurred. It's the best thing that could have happened to me. It was bad. It was good in the same respect, because it could have been out on the street with cameras.
And
it could have been with worldwide news, because I was in crisis.
Right? Yeah.
So that's what we interrupt. We get to interrupt that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Get them before they get us. You got to take care of yourself first. And again, I don't know how to reiterate this any louder than being in on platforms like this, but to tell people to take care of themselves first. Even us mothers, wives, whatever, we get to take care of ourselves first. And it's so difficult for us because we're nurturers. You know, we want to help, we want to serve. And some of us even know that we're here on this planet to serve other people. But with that being said, we must serve ourselves first.
Right. You have to, you know, if you're a very busy tea kettle filling all of these teacups, but then you run out, you're empty, then you're no good for anybody else. You can't fill all the teacups around you because the kettle itself is empty.
As firefighters and first responders, we're brilliant at the basics. We master the art of stretching the line, and we excel at being there for those who need us most. Yet even the best of us can be caught off guard. We sometimes face unexpected challenges like injury, cancer, or post-traumatic stress symptoms. But you're not alone. The First Responder Center for Excellence is here to equip you with the tools and resources you need to stay informed and prepared. We help you focus on staying strong, safe, fit, and resilient. Optimize your performance with cutting-edge health, wellness, and science information, from fitness to nutrition, medical evaluations to behavioral health, cancer awareness to cardiac health. We've got you covered. Remember, we're stronger together. Discover more at firstrespondercenter.org and connect with us on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. The First Responder Center for Excellence. Equip yourself with excellence for every call.
Dr. Falisa, can you just outline some practical steps? Like, what do you recommend for building resilience in each of the 4 domains?
So I'm going to give you an example for me. I set up rituals for myself, which include I listen to a book when I'm in the shower. And I do that because it has become a practice, which has become a need, which helps me to think in the shower. I don't know if you ever noticed about how you get clarity in the shower. Learn that, get in the shower and just try to But that's one thing I do. I have certain rituals that I do. I work out. I listen. I don't go to church physically, but I'm spiritual, so I feel myself spiritually with various things.
Okay.
Go into nature. Just being aware. What do you need? Understanding what is needed. What do you enjoy? What brings you joy? What brings you pleasure? You know, as a coach, I have noticed that a lot of people don't know what brings them pleasure, what brings them joy. So it's really a matter of just doing some internal work, taking yourself back to the foundation and figure out what it is that you need, not what somebody told you needed or what mom or dad or sister, whomever. It doesn't matter what other people said to you. You get to figure out what it is that you need and make that happen. One of my I have a big old sign that I put up in my trainings. How do you want to show up in the world? What impact do you want to leave in the world? And for you to be able to do that, what do you need to do that within yourself? Because everything is there already. So what is it that you need to enhance to do that? How do you want to show up? So I don't know if that answered your question, Dr. Stacy, but
those are all great suggestions.
It's all very much what the individual needs. That's another place that I've found that people struggle is understanding who they are, believe it or not, and what they need. Those are 2 very important questions. And once you get to those 2 questions, you can answer those 2 questions. The third one is why. Who are you? Why? What do you need? Why? And that's the start right there. That's the start. And that's going to take people back to the foundation, which may bring up some fragmented, disowned, wounded, orphaned parts inside of them. But that's where the work begins. And that work is necessary when you work with other people, because we never know when it's going to come up, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, there's a dual process going on here because we're talking about the vicarious trauma that our law enforcement and first responders take on, and then there is the vicarious trauma that therapists, coaches, helpers take on as well. So this is a dual purpose here, which is great. It's always good to call attention to it because I don't think there's a person in the world that couldn't do a little bit better on self-care and beefing up their resilience and their coping skills. Just to switch gears a little, you did mention coaching. Can you talk about what coaching is and then how it supplements therapy?
So I chose coaching purposely, although I'm trained and I'm fully trained in therapy. I could do therapy. I'm not licensed, but I'm trained in it. And the reason I wanted to coach is people pretty much know what they need, what they want, pretty much. I just want to guide people. So that's the difference for me. I want to guide you where you are. I want to meet you where you are and guide you. I can touch on the trauma, but we're not going to stay there. We're going to revisit that trauma, reframe it, and move on. If that makes a difference. That's the difference for me in coaching. So I'm trying to help you to win. I'm helping you to recognize your strengths, help you to recognize where your challenges are. But we're going to focus on those strengths. We're going to work on those challenges, but we're going to focus on your strengths and support you holistically from that perspective. For me, that's what coaching is.
Let's kind of take it to the next step, which is in addition to the one-on-one coaching, you do trainings for, I imagine it's for agencies and different departments. Can you talk a little bit about that? What are some of the the things that you bring out there? What are the topics and the subject matter that you train with?
So I have 3 pillars that I focus on specifically. And then I build the training around those 3 pillars for organizations who work with people who experience or trauma. It's different sectors: healthcare, judicial system, law enforcement or first responders, teachers, educators, paraprofessionals, anybody who are positioned to support other people. So my 3 pillars are self-love and self-care, which falls under self-discovery, and that would include anything self, if that makes sense. Anything self, self-respect, everything, right? Then I have emotional wellness, which is emotional intelligence. So I teach people how to face the basics of emotional intelligence and how to do that. And the third one is effective communication. Support people with understanding how and how to communicate effectively and what effective communication looks like. So those are the 3 pillars that I work from. And then I build, if they are having issues where they want to beef up attendance, or if they're having issues with conflict resolution or management, or anything that has to do with whatever they're trained for, I'll incorporate them around those 3 pillars. Coming from a place of education, I want to educate people on these areas.
And do you train leadership and rank and file together, or are they kind of separate tracks?
It's whatever the organization wants.
Calling all mental health professionals. Join us for the Clinician Masterclass series, working with first responders, and empower your practice with expert insights and actionable strategies. Brought to you by the Responder Resilience Podcast. Dive deep on working with EMS and 911 personnel with seasoned therapists Dr. Nicole Navega and Bonnie Rumilly. Sunny Prevetto shares specific knowledge and tools to support police. Dr. Stacy Raymond offers professional insights on working with veterans. And Dr. Robbie Adler Tapia covers working with firefighters in a clinical setting. Subject expert Elizabeth Paul covers suicide and psychological autopsies. Patrick Fitzgibbons does a deep dive on inpatient treatment facilities. And Dr. John Violanti covers law enforcement mental wellness. Get ready to transform your practice. Subscribe and stream anytime on our channels: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Stay in the loop and sign up now at respondertv.com.
So you had mentioned the importance of leaders, kind of like this being a top-down way of changing to have the culture be more focused on themselves. How do you envision that? Like, how do you create? How do leaders create an environment that fosters that? Can you articulate some points there?
I believe that it's important to, like you just said, articulate the need and the necessity of taking care of yourself, because the bottom line depends on the people who are showing up to do the work. So we have to educate. We have to practice those. We practice those things that we want other people to do. We talk about self-care. We talk about vicarious trauma. We talk about what happens if we don't do these things. We bring it to the awareness of the people that are doing the work. I think that's the first and foremost, most important thing, and then to allow people to do what they need to do to take care of themselves. Again, talking about from a place from leadership, from the viewpoint of leadership.
I think one of the most challenging situations, and we come across it at times, is when leadership does not want to open this door because they are not doing that work on themselves.
Right.
And you have people underneath who want the information, want the support, want the programs. And it's not going to happen necessarily unless there are mandates coming down from the state or other entities, right? So that's a huge challenge. Do you have any thoughts about that one?
Well, I think I go to the department heads, and again, I haven't reached the level where they're readily opening the doors, like you just said. They're not really.
Yeah.
Right.
have conversations with people, and it's happening because we've
Right.
been talking about vicarious trauma for a long time.
Sure.
And so it's starting to get, certain ears are starting to perk up. And so I think that's the most important thing right now is that people are listening. And from the leadership listening, if we can get individuals to start to talk about how they've become better people.
Right.
The word is spread just like everything else.
I find that
a magic wand and I could just swing my wand and have people understand the importance of it. But, all we can do is continue to share and bring awareness to it.
Right. I think it's so powerful when you have a first responder whose life was a mess, post-traumatic stress, injury, divorce, alcoholism, perhaps even disciplinary issues at work. And then they become involved in therapy. They resign themselves to it. They embrace it. They grow from it. And now they're a new person and they are the poster child, for their department. And it influences other people to look at, well, wow, if he could do it, or she could do it, they were an absolute mess a year ago and they've turned their lives around. I think that is one of the most influential factors in helping people have a better focus on, the totality of themselves.
Yeah. I think that's important to have people that we can look to see that it's evidence, it works, right? Mm-hmm. But that's again where I go back to the part where we have to be individuals first. And like you said, we can see other people do it. We can hope leadership will bring in the tools and the people to share this information. But the ultimate responsibility lies on us as individuals, because again, we're on our own journeys. And I hope to interrupt the person that is in crisis that is going to show up to be the poster child. I want to interrupt that before,
Right.
So Dr. Falisa, share with us, please, where people can find you, website, social media, any other points of contact.
I am on all platforms under Peacock Training and Consulting Group, Peacock Training Consulting at gmail.com is my email address. And let's see, you could type in my name in Google, it'll all come up.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that all on the put that on the screen also. Stacy, Bonnie, final thoughts?
I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing a little bit more about vicarious trauma. We've talked about it here and there, but it was nice to have someone who really focuses on it every day. So thank you for what you're doing. And I hope that you have continued success and get more presentations and more engagements, because the message needs to get out.
Thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate that.
Dr. Falisa, I really appreciate, the spotlight on the individual, and that they go inward and they monitor themselves, because as we know, first responders are so much externally oriented. They're focused on helping others, putting out the fire, chasing the bad guy, stopping the bleeding, whatever the case may be. I think it's very hard for them to focus internally. So the more that they hear that, it's definitely going to make a change.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to get this out. Again, this is awesome, because like you guys said, this is so necessary, and we may be saving lives here. Just a simple podcast to say, stop and take a look at what's happening with yourself. May save lives. And we don't set out to hurt other people. That's not the goal. So when we start seeing other people being hurt, we gotta interrupt that, figure out what it is, and take a look at ourselves.
Right. And I appreciate that you're planting the seeds, or you have been planting the seeds at the academy level, because that's really where it's got to start, that awareness. And so that's fantastic. And our conversations reminded me of something we heard along one of our podcasts, and that's, people that are in radiation environments or even firefighters when they're going into toxic environments, we wear a badge or a detector that's going to monitor and let us know if we've gotten too much exposure, right, to a toxic environment or to radiation. Wouldn't it be great if we had something like that could monitor our exposure to vicarious trauma and other traumas, right, and know that it's time to do something about it.
To re-up, to get it back together. But we do. We have an internal clock. We do have an internal monitoring system. We just get to tap into it. I listen, I don't know what else to say other than let's keep this going. The momentum. I'm open to going and talking and bringing awareness to this. And we all need money, but it's not about money for me. I need to bring this out into the world. It's people like myself in the Black community who are seeing the trauma more and more and more because of the totality of what's going on in our country. And so we have first responders or other people in the helping sectors going into or engaging with people in certain communities. They're being tapped more. Does that make sense? Being tapped more. And I don't know if you can envision what I'm trying to say. As a Black woman, I feel more. I'm not going to say I feel more than other people, but I feel it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it cute. I'm really trying to keep it cute, but the messaging is clear. We have to take care of ourselves, understanding who you are. Me being a Black woman, I need to know everything that comes along with being a Black woman. I have to understand that and take good care of myself in order to be able to help other people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, and thank you for spending this time with us, Dr. Falisa. It was great putting a spotlight onto these areas that you're an expert in, and we wish you continued success with all the work you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Call me if you need me.
Okay, will do. Remember to like and subscribe YouTube, Responder Resilience, Facebook, Responder Wellness Inc., and Responder TV, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and please check out our website, respondertv.com, for past episodes and guest information. Until the next time, stay safe, be kind to yourself. Take care.